All right, we're going live now. Good evening, everybody. Kamari Ellis here. Welcome to the Finance Rebel Show. It's 7:20. We're supposed to be on at 7, so forgive me for my tardiness. We like to keep it real and transparent around these parts. But today, we're doing, again, something a little different. I want to get back to one of the things that I love to do. One of the things I love to do is interview other smart people, emphasis on smart. So today, I brought her my homegirl, Courtney Bolden. We haven't talked in a while, but back in the day, she was an awesome copywriter. Now, she's transitioned to a full-fledged media mogul. So we're going to talk to her about that, and we're going to talk to her. We're going to talk to her about how she helps Black women grow and scale their companies. So say hello to everyone, Courtney. How are you?
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much, Kamari, for having me on tonight. I'm excited for our conversation.
Thank you. It's been a long time coming. I mean, we've known each other for years.
Yeah, we go back like 4 flats on a Cadillac, my brother.
Yeah, but we've never done this. We've never done this. So I'm looking forward to this.
Me too.
So you help Black women scale and grow their businesses. Why Black women?
Well, first of all, for obvious reasons, I'm a Black woman. And second of all, I just love my sisters. But I would say more logically, right? Because people ask me this question all the time. When I was running Facebook ads, I would get comments all the time from people who said, well, why are you only targeting Black women? Why are you only helping Black women? And to me, it felt like anybody else would have asked that question.
Right.
But since I'm a Black woman who is very explicit about helping other Black women, because let's be clear, there are a lot of other people who look like me who like to talk about how they help women of color, and they're kind of, dancing around the actual market that they serve. And I've never done that. I've always been very explicit, even if it made me look crazy. But I recognized a couple years back that Black women are the number one new demographic for starting businesses. But we weren't earning on par with a lot of our other counterparts. And having worked with Black women and having strategically partnered with Black women, I knew how brilliant we are, and I knew how much of what we had the world needed. And so I wanted to be a key figure to help us really amplify our authentic voices so that we could increase our influence, our impact, and our revenue. Because let's be very, very clear, up until recently, I feel like a lot of people were skirting around the issue of money and how much it does take to run a business, and how in order to make an impact, you cannot be broke. We heard a lot of people talking about serving for a long time and getting followers and likes and shares and comments and all that stuff. But you boil down to it. Say what?
I'd say building a platform. Yeah.
Right. Building a platform.
All the buzzwords.
But the key performance indicator of a successful business is how much money you make, period, point blank, right? If you walk into any bank, if you walk into to the room with any potential investors, they're going to ask you for your numbers. And in order to really have a successful business, you have to be positioned as a successful business. And that's really what I help my clients do, who are experts in what they do. They just need to position themselves as such so they can attract more opportunities, more influence, and more clients.
Well, it's funny, when I asked you that question, I had to ask that question, but your response reminded me of there's an old Toni Morrison interview with Charlie Rose. And it's like, nobody's asking me, am I going to write about Black characters? They just want to know if I'm going to write about white characters. Nobody asks white authors, are they going to write about Black characters or characters of color? And so I feel like you were channeling Toni at that moment. So that's
yes.
Cool. Now, you said something I thought was pretty interesting. You said you don't want to dance around the issue, and you're not servicing women of color. You're servicing Black women. Why do you make that distinction?
I make that distinction because I think words mean things. As a writer, as a linguist, and somebody who has studied discourse for the majority of my life, I understand that words hold power. And I also understand that there are a lot of words and phrases that change, the definitions evolve over time. And at the risk of getting too nerdy up in here,
Go
what
ahead.
I will
I'm a nerd. Black nerds rock.
That's right. What I will say is there have been a lot of buzzwords thrown around, especially in this entrepreneur space, women of color being one of them, people of color being another. And what I think it does is it sort of combines everybody all in one pile, everybody who's not white, right? It's the one pile when people of color, women of color are not monolithic. So we shouldn't be talking about us as a monolith. And so when I want, if I were serving women of color, then that would mean that I would have to have a broader understanding of other cultures, of other norms and things like that, which I do. However, I have the best understanding of Black culture, and I have an even better understanding of being a woman inside of a Black culture and being a Black woman, right? And identifying as such. And so I have an affinity to my community. I feel like I have a responsibility to serve my community. Now, that's not to say that I haven't worked with other people. I do, but the people that I am called to serve in this particular point in time are Black people. And right now it's Black women specifically. So I make no qualms about that. I'm not ashamed about that. And I think there are a lot of other experts who are coming around to the idea that they can in fact be very explicit about who it is that they serve. I'm a marketer, right? And so to me, women of color is far too broad of a term in order to be effective. And so as a copywriter, it is important for me to be clear, and is also important for me to be concise. And so, I just put it out there. I work with Black women, and I feel like in order to be a thought leader, in order to be an expert in something, you must master that thing, right? And so I feel like I have spent enough time in the trenches of business with Black people and Black women to be able to serve them at a high level. And that's what I want to be known for. And that's who I want to be known as. And I'm not afraid of putting it out there. And I think a lot of my other counterparts who have been timid about this, about really putting their stake in the ground, are now starting to become more explicit about who they serve, because they're now starting to see that Black women, in fact, do seek support for their businesses. Black women, in fact, do have money to pay, because a lot of people were afraid beforehand to say that they serve Black people because they thought mistakenly or assumed or projected a stereotype upon us that Black people don't pay, or Black people are always looking for a discount, or da da da. I've been in business for 5 years, and I've primarily served Black people, and I will say that there are far and few in between where there are instances that I had issues serving my community. And I think that it's time for us to shift that narrative. And I'm not saying that, every Black entrepreneur needs to serve other Black people specifically. I'm just saying,
we're not talking about every other entrepreneur. We're talking about you.
Right.
Why?
So that's why it's important for me to make that distinction.
Right. I mean, again, I think it's very interesting. I find a lot of us are still scared to explicitly say that, right? And you always hear the buzz term, the riches are in the niches. But when people say people of color, there's so many sub niches. If even people of color is even a niche or niche, however way you want to pronounce it. And so how can you really master all of those? We're going to talk Puerto Rican, Dominican, Brazilian, Colombian, just talking about not even the different types of industries, right? So we have African American women, hair, like I'm just using hair as an
Yeah.
example, but there's so many different sub niches in that as well. So you could never really be a master in that. So you would
Right.
never probably get to the riches that are truly in the niches or niches, however way you want to pronounce it. So
Absolutely.
tell me about some of the things you help Black women business owners with.
Well, the main thing is I help my clients understand how to position themselves as thought leaders. I believe that the amount of money
Take a
opportunity.
pause right there for a minute,
Mhm.
because everybody don't know these terms. So when you say position, we got to try to break it down to
No, you're right.
But when you say position, what do you mean by that?
I mean by really creating a platform, really creating authority, and really creating perception, right, of substance, like a substance. Like, of course, you have to have substance, because I don't want to just get into this idea of branding for popularity's sake, because I think that that's tired, and we're now seeing how tired it is. But when I say positioning, I mean really understanding what your message is and who you're talking to, who you're serving, and the transformative outcome that someone can expect by purchasing your products or hiring you to perform a service. And so I believe that starts at the identity level and then at the messaging level. I think that you cannot outperform who you are in business. And what I mean by that is you have to be the kind of person who can have a successful business. And that first begins with understanding, where your mindset is, where your consciousness is, and where your attention is, right? I think mindset is, people have beaten mindset into just about everything. But it's so real, right? And I think that some people sort of want to skip over that step because it's not as linear. It's not as black and white. Sometimes it can get messy. Sometimes it takes longer for us to work through some of the things, some of the blocks, some of the limiting beliefs, and to unlearn some of the things that we grew up knowing and learning in order to be successful. And then after that, I really help my clients understand what message is appropriate at the right time and for whom, in order for them to really resonate with and attract those clients, those opportunities, and all of the other things that they want in business. Because I find too often that a lot of the names that you never hear about, a lot of the experts that you never know about, that aren't invited to be on the most popular stages, that aren't in the cool kids club, are people who have been, working their expertise, that have been mastering their crafts for years. And the only difference between those people and the people who you hear about so often is marketing, and it's about who knows them. So it's not about who you know. It's not just about who you know. It's about who knows you. And so my goal is to really help my clients, propel themselves forward into the thought leader stratosphere, so that more people know their name, not for the sake of being popular, but for the sake of making impact.
Right. So basically, you're trying to put people in the right place, give them the bullhorn or the microphone, and say, sit or stand right here and broadcast your message.
That's it.
This is where the people are that you need to be. So we Black, right? Everybody comes to the church. So if you need to go to this church, right, on this day at this time,
that's it.
And talk to this congregation.
And you're going to say this, right?
Right.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Right.
That is what I really love to do.
Okay. So for everybody, we are live. I'm Kamari Ellis. This is the Finance Rebel Show. We're talking to Courtney Bowden right now. We're talking about increasing and helping Black women go into business, stay in the business, and be profitable in business. Courtney helps Black women scale and grow their businesses all the time. Now, tell everybody the name of your company, Courtney.
So the name of my company is the Champ Media Agency, and it's really a special thing for me because my nickname growing up, as long as I can remember, was Champ, has been Champ, and ever since I can really remember forming a thought. My mom has called me that. So if she were to call right now and I were to pick up the phone and put it on speaker, she would be like, "Hey, Champ." Like, I always make the joke that my mom has been calling me out of my government name for my entire life, but that has been a good thing because she really spoke that word over me. And a champ is just a winner, right? A champ is
Right.
somebody who has conquered sometimes insurmountable obstacles to be on top. And for her to affirm that in my life every single day of my life has been a blessing. And so I thought it would be only appropriate to name my company the Champ Media Agency, to pay
Right.
homage to my mom and to thank her for just speaking those things over me before I even knew what a champ really meant.
Right. And so y'all got it. We're gonna be talking that championship talk here. So tune in, leave us some comments. We're gonna come to them towards the end after we have this conversation with Courtney. But again, I'm Kamari Ellis. This is Courtney Bolden. Be sure to share this. Share this with some other Black women and some Black men who need some champion talk in their life. Now, Courtney, how do you walk through with a client? Like, what's your process?
So my process begins with a deep dive. I'm the kind of expert marketer, branding strategist, whatever you want to call me, that I like to really extract all that I can from my clients, to understand who they are, who they really see themselves to be, and who they really want to serve, and what they want to say to those people. And so that's how we start. And depending on the things that they want to accomplish, the middle, gets customized for each and every client. But we always begin with the mindset. And then we talk about the market, or we talk about the mission, right?
Mhm.
Why they are in business. And if and I never work with clients who are just in business for the money, because anybody who's a real entrepreneur will tell you you will not be successful. You will not be happy. You will not be fulfilled only, running a business for the money. So the mission has to be big, and it has to align with, with my values, right? Because I think that as a marketer, it's really hard to fake the funk. Like, for me, like, I don't have a middle. I'm either hot or I'm cold, for better or for worse. I don't do lukewarm, because I know that people don't do lukewarm.
Right.
Uh, and if there's a choice between an enthusiastic yes and a most people are gonna be like, if
Right.
it's a no. It's a no,
Right.
right?
Right.
I
Right.
can't feel the same way about your product and help and truly help you or a service, and truly help you position it for the market, if I'm feeling about what it is that you're doing. And so after we understand the mission, then it's the market, right? Who are you talking to? Who do you want to serve? And it has to go way beyond just regular demographics. Oh, African American women between the ages of 25 and 44 making $75,000 a year who live in metropolitan areas. That's cute, but that is not going to help you pierce through all of the other clutter and all the other chaos that your potential clients and customers encounter every single day. So we have
So
to understand.
what would you want to know? I'm sorry to cut you off, but what would you want to
No,
know?
yeah, I would want to know what their deepest frustrations are. I would want to know what their biggest dreams are. I want to know what keeps them up at night. I want to know the kind of phrasing that they use when they talk about their problems. I want to know what is the trigger, what is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, for instance, of, for lack of a better term, that is going to trigger them to actually take action to solve their problem. I want to know who else they've worked with, what else they've tried, what hasn't worked, what has worked, and for how long. So I ask all those questions. And
So you want to know the conversation that's going on in a potential client or customer's head.
Absolutely.
So enter that conversation.
Absolutely enter that conversation. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of people mistakenly believe that marketing is starting a conversation. It is not. You're never starting a conversation with your prospect. You're always entering the conversation. Never. You're always joining in a conversation. And when I say conversation, I also mean that includes narrative, right? So your prospect always has something going on in their mind. You're never going to encounter somebody with a blank slate. You're never going to encounter anybody without a story, without a past. You're never going to encounter anybody who, doesn't have a particular opinion about something, especially as it relates to what it is that you're offering and if they're in the market for it. So you're always joining in a conversation. You're never starting one. And I think that's the number one mistake that a lot of brands and a lot of entrepreneurs who are trying to get their products and services in front of people make, is that they think they're starting a conversation. No. You're joining one that's already going on inside their head. So they may not be necessarily talking about their problems as explicitly to other people, because it really depends on what industry you're in. Sometimes it's really sensitive stuff that people may be ashamed about or feel guilty about. So a conversation doesn't necessarily mean a conversation between them and another human. It could be the conversation that they're having inside of their head and with themselves. And so
go ahead.
So after the message, we then talk about the money. What are those offers that are going to match up with your mission, your message, and your market, so that whenever you put them in front of your market, whenever you apply your messages, you can actually make money. So that's sort of the framework, the process that I take my clients through. And for some, it takes a little bit, it's a little bit more extensive depending again on the end result that they want. But every single time that is the model, because you cannot get to the money without understanding what your message is and who your market is.
Gotcha. So basically, when Popeyes sold that famous chicken that broke the internet, they understand that Black folks like fried chicken and we like fried chicken sandwiches.
Yes.
So
yes.
I mean, right. And I'm gonna do it. I hate to stereotype us, but some stereotypes are founded in some truth. Mm-hmm. How do you think they figured all that out?
Well, first of all, they had a Black woman who came up with that campaign idea. So I think that is important. It shouldn't be lost on us that leadership at these corporations and that these companies that market to us matters.
I think I'm losing you, Courtney. She's frozen. Well, I think what Courtney was about to say is that leadership at these companies matter, and they do. And they actually are a great testament to show how diversity truly can produce more money. Because I know that was absolutely the case with Popeyes. Now, let's see if we can get Courtney back, because we were having a great conversation. I guess she lost her Wi-Fi signal. But while we're waiting on Courtney, let me go ahead and answer some of these questions, or respond to some of these. I'm trying to see if she's coming back now. So, I think Courtney, you back, Courtney? Nope, she's totally gone. All right, so hey, Vanessa, how you doing? Thanks for watching. So KPI is about the bottom line, absolutely. And if everybody doesn't know what KPI means, it means key performance indicator. Key performance indicator. Unapologetically Sharon. Hey, Sharon, Black Nerds Rock. Indeed. You like that, huh? So let's see if we can get Courtney back. And I think she's coming back now.
Hey, everybody. I don't know what happened. My internet just kicked off.
As Courtney's coming back, y'all see this is all live. There's no scripting here, right? Vanessa back in the commerce. Vanessa, is that you? Are you on both Facebook and YouTube? I appreciate the double views. Get help the algorithm. Chris Van Walker, how are you, sir? Thanks for joining us. All right. Hey, Sharon. All right, Courtney, you were saying that representation at these corporations matters. Leadership at these corporations matters. So pick up from there where you were left off.
Yeah. So, a large part of the reason why the Popeyes chicken sandwich campaign blew up was because they had the right people at the table, and they had someone or people there that knew the behaviors of their consumers. And so, as I mentioned before, the brainchild behind that was a Black woman, right? And it makes sense, because
absolutely
the diversity of perspective, and when we put us at the table, when we have representation at these tables, we're able to really pull out and leverage those nuances so that these companies can truly understand what their consumers want and what they don't want.
Right. And usually the best people to articulate what the audience wants, especially someone from that audience, again, typically is someone from that audience.
Absolutely.
Because many times people don't get it. Because, Popeye has been kind of trotting around for a long time, but they're actually owned by the company. I can't think of the company on the top of my head. I done made a video about them and everything. But they also own Burger King and Zaxby's. But if you ever pay attention to their social marketing team overall, they are like the king of trolling. So Burger King trolls, Popeye's trolls. I haven't seen Zaxby's troll, but they pretty much understand the culture of social. Mm-hmm. And social very much drove the Popeye's craze. Mm-hmm. So, just the whole conflict between Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. By the way, nobody's paying me for advertisement tonight, so we're not going to pump them too hard. We're just using as an illustration point, as an educational point. They trolled the heck out of Chick-fil-A. Very smart. If you ever watch, and I don't really want to give this guy credit for this because I think it's done in a very negative and bad way, but the president is always creating enemies. He does that intentionally because it polarizes audiences and it makes people pick or choose sides. I'm not a marketer, but I study business. So, I pick up on those things. What's that?
Yeah, that's a key marketing tactic. And I think that it's one that brands shouldn't be afraid to pull out of their arsenal, because again, you never want a lukewarm response. Lukewarm response is gonna skew to no most of the time. And so often some of the best marketing campaigns entail the us versus them kind of narrative.
Got you. So since I do a lot of tax work, should I pick a fight with H&R Block?
I mean, you could definitely say, you could position your company as one who offers, more personalized attention. Maybe the audit rates are lower. I don't know what advantages you would have over H&R Block, but them. And so, it could be worth a try. And it would compel some people, because some people may have gotten burned from H&R Block. Maybe they didn't get as much of a tax savings or a tax break by going through a big box retailer to prepare their taxes versus having, an independent, individualized experience with you. So you could definitely do that.
Gotcha. We might have to kick that around a little bit.
Yeah.
Char Jackson, I see your question. That is actually a great question. So just stick around. We're definitely going to come to that. It's a great question, by the way. So, okay, Courtney. So you walk them through the mission, the message of the marketing and the money, or did I say that wrong?
Yeah, you said that perfectly.
Okay. So what happens when people oftentimes brand new in business don't have the money to do marketing properly?
Well, there's always options, right? I think that what new entrepreneurs.
And I asked the question, by the way, because I always see people say they don't have money for marketing.
Yeah.
And I always push back. But, that's why I'm asking that question. That's a frequently said statement by many people who are in business.
Yeah. Well, I think that number one, people should understand that as the visionary, as the boss, and as a CEO of the business, your number one job is to be a marketer. It doesn't matter what you sell. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, because again, you can be great at what you do. You can be dope at what you do, but you can also be very broke at what you do. And I know too many dope broke people out here because, they just refuse to invest in marketing. And so I think that money is an excuse that people use in order not to invest in marketing. And so let me break that down. In order to grow your business, you have two options. You're going to pay in two ways. Number one, you're going to pay with money, or you're going to pay in time, or you're going to pay in both. And so I think that some people who indicate that they may not have the large marketing budget, which is completely legit when you're first starting off in business, should be prepared to invest some sweat equity, more sweat equity. I would say a disproportionate amount of sweat equity when you don't have the coin. I would say that the goal is to generate enough revenue so that you can consistently carve out a marketing budget so that you can consistently put your product and services in front of more people, because a lot of businesses have a marketing problem. They're not getting in front of the people they need to get in front of. They're not getting the leads. And then if you're not getting leads, then you're not filling your pipeline. If you're not filling your pipeline, you're not getting clients or customers. So I think that not having enough money, especially when we're in this day and age of technology, social media, there are so many ways to get the word out about your business, is an excuse, and it shouldn't be one that people use to stop marketing. Sure, you may not be able to afford a fancy agency, but you can afford Google. You can go on Google, you can go on YouTube, you can start to learn some of these things and implement and test some of these things up until you get to the point where you can start to really reinvest monetarily into your marketing by hiring other people.
Right. I was going to say that a lot of times when people say they don't have enough money to market, they're really saying they don't know how to be creative, or they don't have enough creativity to be to do marketing, because there's all different kinds of marketing tactics that you can employ for your business, whether it be in person.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of the old school term where they would say walking for dollars or something like that.
Yeah.
So you could do that. You can cold call, knock. I'm not a big advocate for it, but you could dial for dollars. Again, I'm not a big advocate for that. But you could also figure out different ways to put your values, your message out to the world, and then attract, your audience, your business, your clients to you. I mean,
absolutely.
Like you said, there's so many ways to do that now. And I just wonder, everybody, wants to be a boss, like you just said. And I actually kind of hate that word, but I don't know if people are really ready to sacrifice in the way that they need to sacrifice in order to be that boss that they're envisioning in their head.
So. Well, like Jay-Z said on the song Boss on the Carter's album, he said everybody's a boss until it's time to pay the invoices. So not everybody's ready.
And I think he said something else. I don't know if it was on that. He said, how y'all calling yourselves boss, but you ain't got no payroll.
Right.
That's on something, but I can't think of what it is.
Right.
Yes. So I get it. Okay, so mission, message, market, money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a person can't afford to hire a Courtney, how should they go about thinking about each one of those as they go
Well,
through themselves?
yeah. Well, they should get very clear on their mission. And they should understand why they're doing what they're doing, because there's going to come a day and a time when that why is going to be what propels them and what fuels them. And then you also want to be prepared with an answer for when your prospects and your customers and your clients start to really ask the question, well, what brought you into business? Well, why are you doing this? Right? Because that's sometimes that's how people make their purchasing decisions. We're living in a time where our prospects and consumers are armed with much more information than they have ever been before. And that means that all of us are making our purchasing decisions a lot more consciously. And a lot of us are aligning our dollars, and they're spending our dollars with companies that reflect our values. And so if you find yourself not knowing what your values are, not knowing what your why is, you are at a grave disadvantage in this economy and what is going to emerge as a new kind of economy after this pandemic is over. And so it's important to understand why you're doing what you're doing, get very clear on that. Then the next thing is to get clear on your message. What do you have to say? What are the transformative benefits and outcomes that people can expect to experience as a result of buying from you? If you're not clear on that, then you can't expect anybody to enthusiastically give you their money in exchange for whatever products or services that you have. And so I think that, the message is something that a lot of people make a mistake and rush through, or not even give it enough consideration, because, for a long time, visual branding was the end all be all. It was, I need a logo, I need a slick website, I need lifestyle photos, I need a color palette, I need fonts, I need all of this stuff. And so people would hire a graphic designer before they would hire a copywriter, when most graphic designers aren't strong writers, and they'll
No,
tell you that.
and vice versa.
Right. I am not a designer. I'm a Canva
Fine.
queen.
Right.
But beyond that, don't ask me to do nothing.
But you bring up that point, right? And for years, how many people just had cards with their names on it with no logo, and they were still making money. And so I don't know how we got to this point where logo is so important. I don't know what happened, but
vanity
it's
marketing.
here.
Vanity marketing. I think that
That's
the
how
idea
vanity marketing is.
wanting to get the likes, shares, comments, followers, etc. Wanting to shine, right, without having much substance. And so now we're being forced to return back to this idea of having substance. I mean, I know people who don't even have a website and are making millions of dollars a year. It's not the website, it's their message. It is their message. And so I think that people who value getting clarity around their message are winning in business and will continue to win. And so I think that's the time that people need to spend the most time on their message as it relates to their marketing. Hands down, point blank, period. Come fight me if you think it's something different. But I mean, say what now?
I said, all right, Chant.
Look, I'll go to bat for that. And so the market, people need to understand, people in business need to understand, again, they need to crawl into the psyche of the people they're trying to serve and sell to in order for that message to stick, because you have to know who you're talking to in order to form a message. And so it's not enough to have this superficial idea of who you're marketing to, which is why it's important to probably work with a copywriter or work with someone who understands understands how to really extract those nuances and ask those questions and gather those insights in that data. And then with the money piece, with figuring out what your offer is, you want to put all those things together, right? You want to put all those things, the mission, the message, and the market. You want to combine all of that to create an offer that people will actually buy, because a lot of people are creating offers that nobody wants. And so they're complaining about not being able to make money, not being able to create sales, not being able to market it effectively when they haven't really proven out the offer quite yet. So you can't outmarket a bad offer. It doesn't matter how well I write for you, Kamari. If your offer sucks, then I'm just basically shining up a turd. And I think a lot of people need to get real about how great their offers are or are not, and isolate some of those things to understand if that offer needs to change.
Well, I don't think you would let me offer a turd.
I definitely would. No.
I don't think any good copywriter would let me offer a turd. I definitely know there's pushback where, somebody's like, listen, we're gonna offer, I don't know, I'm trying to think, what sucks right now? This is popular. I can't think of anything, but I don't know, let's say 2 McChicken sandwiches for $100, right? Where McChicken sandwiches are $1 on the dollar menu at McDonald's. So that would be a bad offer. I know offers should be kind of irresistible, or should be at least attempt to be irresistible when you put them out there to the marketplace. But here's the question I have for you, right? I know sometimes it takes people years to hone their message. And it takes years to hone their message because you really got to understand your market before you can really hone your message. Right. And so a lot of times it takes them years to hone their niche or their market or their target, whichever way you want to phrase it. Is there a shortcut for that?
I think that the only shortcut for it is data. And so that's where advertising comes in, because that's what you're really doing is when you advertise. So say, for instance, you're investing in Facebook ads or Instagram ads. I think that's the easiest method of advertising that we could probably talk about here. And so I think a lot of people are hesitant to invest in advertising, social media advertising. They might have gotten burned. They might not have gotten, the results that they thought that they wanted to get if they've tried it before. But what I want people to understand is anytime you advertise, you are buying data. You're buying information, and the more information that you can have, whether you buy it, whether you earn it, whether you acquire it some other way organically, the better off you are to make marketing decisions that will make you successful. There is no shortcut. There is no shortcut, right? Remember when I said earlier, you're going to pay in one ways or both, time, money, or both. Okay. Yeah. And so it is up to the business owner. It is up to the visionary to understand or to decide how much data and how fast they want it. And that's advertising. So if you want to build slow, if you want to just kind of dip your toe in and see what the market is doing, well, then you probably would invest more time than you would money. But if you're trying to get a feel of the market and the behaviors, and you're trying to understand what things are and how you fall and where you fall in all of that, then you'll probably want to invest more money in advertising to buy that information. So it does. And even if you are buying information, right, it still takes years to hone your message, because as you're honing, your business is growing and evolving. So it never remains the same. So I don't think there's anything wrong with tweaking your message consistently, and because it must remain relevant. And right. With the rapid pace of the marketplace, you have no choice but to continuously evolve and tweak and make sure that your finger's on the pulse of what's going on.
Got you. Now, there's a favorite Martin episode that you just queued in my head. There was the one where the plumber comes in and fixes Martin's bathroom. And Martin asked him, well, how much does it cost? And he says, well, it may cost you a little, it may cost you a lot, but it's going to cost you. So
Yes.
either way, as you're going through all of these phases and levels, it's going to cost you something. I mean, one of the things I tell people is talk to your clients, see what they want. And then maybe, you can conduct some surveys, but that's kind of the slower way of going. But, a lot of times that can actually help give you the greatest results when you're at the beginner level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I would say, especially for service-based businesses, to work with as closely as you can with your clients, ask them questions. Don't assume too much of anything, because oftentimes we fall within the curse of the expert, and we sometimes create offers and we create messages and we target markets that are not appropriate for where we are in business, simply because we're making these assumptions, and
Right.
because we're thinking that people may need X when they really want and need Y. And so it is our job to get as close to the ground as possible. Again, you can do that organically. You don't necessarily have to start off with advertising. As a matter of fact, I would advise that you don't until you at least have a little bit of organic data to work with, so you understand what direction with advertising you need to go in. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You want to gather as much information from the primary source, which are going to be your customers and your clients that you're looking to serve.
Gotcha. Well, I don't want to take up all of your time, but I know we got a couple of questions, and there was one.
Yeah, bring it on.
Really good question that I wanted you to address. Now, we talked about this earlier in the show. So Char Jackson says, Courtney, would you say that frustrated Black business owners who get upset and say we don't support them really don't know how to market their products and services to our community? So what do you say to that?
I would agree with that sentiment and with that statement. As an entrepreneur who is offering something to the market, you can't get mad at the response of the market. You just can't.
But people don't get that. Because it's not personal,
you
right?
that information. No.
Yeah, a lot of times people take it personal. It's like, well, you don't like my stuff, so that means you don't like me, or you're not ready to buy my stuff right now. So you take it personal. Your customer is not ready to buy right now. But people have to realize that people buy when they want to buy. You can't really force them to buy. You can have the greatest sales techniques in the world. If a person is determined not to buy right now, they're not buying, period.
Right. And not only that, but if you don't have the right message in front of them, and if they don't understand what they're getting, and if they're not really convinced, and if you have not appealed to their emotions, they're not going to buy. And you can't blame them, because guess what? You wouldn't either.
Right. It's funny. The whole treat people as you would be treated trick works in just about everything in life.
It does. Indeed.
So I know we've been on for about an hour, a little under an hour, so I don't want to keep your time.
No, we're good.
What's something that you see? Well, let's go there since we're good. Black women are creating businesses at a ferocious clip, but Black women are also closing down shop at a ferocious clip as well. So what do you think we need to do to get more Black businesses to stay in business? And I know a lot of people say that it's for the lack of capital, but I would like to hear your take on all of this.
Well, I think that it would be very myopic and irresponsible of me to just say, well, just market better, just advertise, just right? Just get a mentor, just do all of that. without first addressing the systemic and institutional barriers that are in place, that have been in place for centuries and for decades, preventing us from truly being successful in business. That is not lost on me. However, I think that we have entered into a time and a space where some of those things can be overcome with, I think, community and with clarity and with conviction. I think that conviction, number one, is probably the most important. It's the foundation of it all. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your business. Because if you don't, then how do you expect anybody else to? So you have to run your business with conviction. But you also have to be very clear on your direction. Again, your marketing, which we talked all about, your mission, your market, your message, and your money, those offers. And that occurs, in my opinion, I think that occurs in one of two ways: in experience. Sometimes some of us, we just have to keep testing. I think people look at marketers and, they ask questions and they want us to read the tea leaves and they want a black and white answer and they want a sure thing, but nothing's ever sure in business. And nothing's definitely never sure in marketing. And I think a lot of people are afraid to test. You cannot be afraid to test. Some of the best businesses and some of the most successful businesses on the market have spent years testing. You cannot be afraid of that. And so I think that, we cannot survive, we cannot thrive without community, without a thriving collective of people who will circulate their money within our community and within our businesses. And so I think that's why, having conferences and strategic partners and relationships are so important for us, because I believe that if all of us aren't winning, then none of us are really winning.
I get you. Well, I'm gonna share what I think, right? And my response typically is very unpopular. I think it's okay that Black women are failing in business, because if you're not failing, you're not trying. And again, people don't realize that part of that failure, and it's not even really a failure, right? It's really a learning exercise. Part of that quote unquote failure is a learning exercise for them to come around and do something bigger and better later on. And then here's the other thing: some things we just shouldn't be in. We test something, we think it's for us, and for whatever reason, I'm not trying to get woo-woo, but for whatever reason, you're not aligned, right? And it doesn't work for you. And I get that. And also sometimes things take longer than what everybody anticipated. It usually always takes longer.
Always.
It always takes longer than what you anticipated for. And so it takes time for it to build, get traction. I mean, we don't get Steve Jobs, right? In creating or helping to bring to fruition Apple, and also the other company, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, had Steve Jobs not got fired, right? So it took that failure to help him get perspective. And that's just the first one that's off the top of my head. I can't think of any others right now. But it took for him to quote unquote fail to come back and do something even greater or better. And I say Steve Jobs is probably the greatest CEO that we've had in this generation. Because, just Apple alone, he's created several billion-dollar companies. Pixar is the other company. So between Pixar and Apple, I mean, they're both groundbreaking. They're both revolutionary. And from all accounts, God rest the dead, but he wasn't the nicest guy, from all accounts. So it wasn't just, right, that's what they say. I never met him, but it wasn't just because he was so nice that he was able to corral these teams to do some great things.
Right.
So, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes experience.
And it takes leadership. It takes vision. I think that is that can't be understated. which is why I have my Think Like a Thought Leader podcast, because I think success in business begins here. You have to think like a successful person in order to be a successful person, whether it's in business, whether it's in your career. So yeah, it again, it all ties back to the identity level. We have to invest as much in ourselves as we do our businesses in order for us to truly succeed.
Gotcha. Shar Jackson, I just put that up there. Please tell Courtney to put her information in the contacts. Please, or put her contact information in the comments.
I definitely will. I'll do it in the chat here so you can put it up here.
And hello, Angela. How are you? Thank you for joining us. You're always with me, Angela. I appreciate you so much. And now we have a comment from the YouTube verse. So D.L. Lieberman says you never fail unless you give up and stop trying. I agree.
That's it.
However, some people do get burned out. So
it's a very real thing. And sometimes sometimes it's a burnout is necessary for you to do things differently and come back even stronger. So to your earlier point, Kamari, I think that it is okay for us to be failing in business. And it is actually very unrealistic to expect some of us not to.
Right. And that's kind of the job of the market. The market's not fair.
No.
The market is not fair.
No.
And we could have a deeper conversation about this. I'm not going to go too deep, but we don't also want the market to be fair, because then and let me be clear, there are a lot of good people who are better than me, who failed in business, who are smarter than me, who failed in business. And I'm not trying to say I'm uber smart or anything like that, but it just didn't work. The market rejected their offer, their business, whatever they had. But now they have the opportunity to come back around and do something great. I mean, we have skyrocketing unemployment numbers. I was thinking about this earlier. Most people hate their jobs. So this is this is an opportunity, right? So it really depends on how your mindset is shaped to see this new transition. Do you see it as an opportunity, or do you see it as a problem? If your mind is kind of trained to see things in opportunities, even if you're being honest with yourself and you can't take advantage of the opportunity to its fullest, if you at least recognize the opportunity, at some point you'll be able to execute on those opportunities, or you'll position yourselves to take advantage of some of those opportunities as well. So, the market is the market. The market is a function to flush things out that don't work. And that's not good, or not good enough. Right.
Yeah. It's survival of the fittest.
Yes. And people don't like that.
No.
So,
but if you don't like it, then you don't need to be an entrepreneur.
Yes. You got to have thick skin.
Period.
So Courtney, I just shared your contact information in the chat.
Excellent.
And, you send it to me as a private chat.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to make sure you put that out there. If anybody has any questions, we'll be on for maybe about 3 more minutes. It's late. I know people got stuff to do, like watch other people's lives. So I don't want to get in the way of that.
Well, maybe DJ Nice is doing another club quarantine set or something. I don't know.
Listen, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. That is a great case study. I mean, are you familiar with D Nice's background? Okay. What do you think about that?
I think that it is incredible. I think that what a lot of people aren't talking about, and I heard one person talk about this who is an expert in the music industry. Her name is Patrice Coakley. She's incredible. She talked about how, everybody's talking about DJ Nice being an overnight success and all this other stuff, and how D-Nice, I'm sorry. What did I say?
DJ Nice.
DJ Nice, Lord. I feel like I'm a millennial auntie. But they talked about how, his follower numbers climbed seemingly overnight, et cetera, et cetera. But what they have not really talked about is how long DJ D-Nice has been DJing. He's been doing this for 30 years, right? And so there's no such thing as an overnight success. success, but what DJ D Nice did see was opportunity, and he jumped on it. And now, everybody else is sort of following his lead. And so I think that when you have mastered your craft long enough, and you have spent enough time, really, I would say, paying your dues, getting really great at what it is that you do, your next job then is to look for opportunities to shine. And I thought that he did such a great job of doing that. And, of course, giving first, feeling a need. He knew that people were just kind of at home, feeling funky around what's going on, and that he knew that people needed to dance, that they needed some levity, and so he just got on and just gave the people what they wanted and gave them what they needed. And as a result, he has reaped the benefits of his brilliance. And so I think it's really incredible, and we're going to see a lot more people doing the same thing.
Well, I mean, for the record, DJs have been spinning online forever.
Yeah.
Right? I saw a friend of mine who's fairly popular. He may not recognize it, but he's fairly popular. He said the only reason it worked because D Nice is D Nice. And I wanted to have a conversation with him, but I didn't have the energy nor the time that day, because I think he could do something very similar. But a lot of times we tend to compare ourselves to other people's numbers. So D Nice, yes, he's D Nice, but D Nice was forgot about. D Nice was not a part of the overall mainstream, right? Black folks know him, especially Black folks my age, because I'm a hip hop head, and everybody knows D Nice originated from the BDP crew, KRS-One. However, there were a lot of people who never heard of D Nice, right? The governor of New Jersey might have heard of him, but probably wasn't super familiar with D Nice. And he's giving shout outs to D Nice. He's getting Michelle Obama to come on and do joint with him. And his numbers, I think he jumped 300,000 in one day.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that there's an opportunity all the time to bring your magic and your gift and share it with the world. It's not about the numbers, though.
No.
Because the people that own the numbers, or what you call vanity metrics or vanity marketing, never really had those opportunities. So your mindset is such, again, there's that M word again, mindset. Your mindset is such that you don't feel that you could do this in the same way that D Nice does. It's not about doing it the same way D Nice does, right? It's about doing it whatever way God intended you to use your talents and gifts, and for you to put them out into the world. Yeah. And so just having that again mindset, to saying that D Nice only got it because he's D Nice. Well, there's a lot of unknown people who broke that nobody knew, had zero following, and then in the next couple of days, weeks, and months, they got 1 million followers. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, right, because following it matters, but it really doesn't matter. It's what opportunities come about. There are literally people that have 1 million followers on social and are broke, or don't know how to leverage their social, or have fake followers. By the way, folks, the worst thing you could ever do online is buy followers. Please don't do that. People will see through that, and if you're trying to grow a presence online, people will see that, and if you're trying to leverage that presence, it's not going to work. Sorry to tell you.
Yep, 100%.
So, Courtney, tell everybody where they can find you, where your podcast is, where your business is, and how they can reach out to you and do some business with you.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at the Courtney Bowden, and those two places. You can email me at Courtney@GoChampMedia.com. My website is actually under construction. Otherwise, I would give you the address, but it will be theCourtneyBowden.com. And you can listen to my podcast, Think Like a Thought Leader, which is streaming on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, and Google podcasts. New episodes drop every single week, and we're talking to some brilliant thought leaders. As a matter of fact, Kamari, I'm talking to you tomorrow.
We're gonna be talking I get to spend a whole lot of time. Okay, we're gonna have fun.
So that's where you can find me. And feel free to email me if you are an entrepreneur who is looking to really amplify your impact, scale your revenue, and increase your influence through positioning. I only take serious inquiries. Only I don't work with just everybody. You need to be a master and an expert at what you do, because far too many people are calling themselves experts around here, and frankly I'm sick of it. Not everybody is an expert. Not everybody who has a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and a website are experts. And so I only work with people who have proven, who have a proven track record of results for their customers and clients. And I'm more than happy to support you with really positioning your business to attract more opportunities, customers, and clients. All the customers and clients and opportunities that your heart can stand.
All right, Courtney's out here telling the truth and shaming the devil.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody got to do it.
Somebody got to do it. Somebody got to do it. Well, Courtney, I appreciate you really so much for joining me tonight. We got to do this more often. And I look forward to working with you as well. But thank you. Thank everybody for watching. Thank everybody that shared. And y'all know I'll be back. Don't forget, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Q&A right here, same Rebel time, same Rebel channel. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Night.